Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let us continue with our tafsir of Surah An-Nisaa bihawlillahi wa quwwatih. And we are on ayah number 88. قال الله تعالى فما لكم في المنافقين فئتين والله أركسهم بما كسبوا أتريدون أن تهدوا من أضل الله ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا. He begins here by saying, what is the matter with you, O Muslimin, that you are divided into two fi'ataini? So fi'a means a group. Two groups, fil munafiqeen, concerning the munafiqeen, the hypocrites. And munafiq is a key term we have spoken about before. So the immediate question is, what is the context of this ayah? We have one narration in the Sahihain. At the Battle of Uhud, the Muslims marched out to the mountain, and also the Munafiqun marched out, however they returned back, their leader being Abdullah ibn Ubay. So in response, some Muslims said that these people need to be executed, and other Muslims said no, they should not be executed, because we do not execute sinners. There is another narration where some Muslims came to Al-Madinah and they were apparently Muslimin. However, in Medina at that time there was a fever spreading and they could not bear it, so they left Medina. Some of the companions of the Prophet asked these people, is there not a goodly example for you in the Prophet? And so some of the companions said that we should execute them, and other companions said no, we should not execute them because they have declared their Islam. In any case, the point is that two groups are differing about what should be done with the munafiqeen. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, Wallahu arkasahum. Arkasa meaning radda, He has returned them, meaning returned them to kufr. Bima kasabu, due to what they have earned, meaning of their evil sins. He says, do you, O Muslims, wish to guide the one whom Allah has misguided? And whomsoever Allah misguided, then He will not find for such a person a sabil, meaning a way, that is to say, a way to the truth. So reflecting on this ayah, we notice that Allah Jalla wa Ala rebukes the mu'mineen for differing about the munafiqeen, and it tells us that differing amongst the Muslimin is not a good thing. Rather, unity is, unity of belief and actions. We also notice how Allah Jalla wa Ala misguides people, not because it's without any wisdom, but rather, as He says, bima kasabu, due to what they have earned from their sins. So when people decide to choose the wrong path and decide upon a life of sin, then Allah Jalla wa Ala misguides such people and does not grant them tawfiq to embrace the straight path. Rather, He leaves them to the devices of the shayateen who will misguide such a person. So this idea of cause and effect is something by which Allah Jalla wa Ala works. We also realize that it is impossible to guide those whom Allah Jalla wa Ala has misguided, as He clearly tells us in this ayah. This particular part of the ayah is directed to those of the Sahaba who deemed the munafiqeen to be Muslimin. So it is wrong to declare the munafiqeen as Muslimin. So Allah Jalla wa Ala rebukes them and asks this rhetorical question, do you wish to guide those whom Allah has misguided? And as for the other group who wanted to execute the munafiqeen, they were also wrong, because you're not allowed to execute those who outwardly show their Islam, because even though they are kuffar, their execution will lead to a greater harm, where people will start saying, oh look, the Muslimin kill their own people. We find that the one whom Allah Jalla wa Ala misguides, it is impossible for anyone to guide. Then one might say at this, how can a kafir then be blamed for being misguided when it is impossible to guide such a person? And of course we are talking about the hidayat al-tawfiq, not the hidayat al-irshad. Now the answer is, nobody knows what Allah Jalla wa Ala has decreed for him until after it happens. So nobody knows if in the end a person has been decreed with guidance or misguidance. So the point is, it does not make sense to argue with an evidence which you do not have any knowledge of. So just like a Muslim cannot testify Jannah for his own self simply because he's on the guided path, because he does not know what his end result will be like. So in the same way, a kafir cannot just say, well, Allah has misguided me, so you cannot blame me, because this kafir does not know what the end result and the ultimate qadr is. So the sensible thing here would be to say, instead of justifying your kufr by saying that Allah has decreed kufr on me and there's nothing I can do about it, why not just choose Islam and then use the same argument? Well, Allah has chosen Islam for me and has guided me. Ayah number 89. وَدُّوا لَوْ تَكْفُرُونَ كَمَا كَفَرُوا فَتَكُونُونَ سَوَاءً فَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا مِنْهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءَ حَتَّى يُهَاجِرُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَإِنْ تَوَلَّوْا فَخُذُوهُمْ وَاقْتُلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ وَجَدتُّمُوهُمْ وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا مِنْهُمْ وَلِيًّا وَلَا نَصِيرًا. He says, Waddu, from Wadda yawaddu, meaning to love. They love that you should commit kufr just like they committed kufr. He's talking about the munafiqeen, because that is the context. But the generality of the ayah applies to all kuffar. All the kuffar would love that the Muslimin should commit kufr just as they have done, so that you can be sawa'an, same or equal. He says, so do not take from them, meaning the munafiqeen, awliya, meaning allies, until they make hijrah in the path of Allah. Now this hijrah can be understood in various ways. If we understand the word hijrah here, meaning emigrate from one land to another, then this could apply to those of the munafiqeen who were living in the countryside. They are ordered to make hijrah from the countryside to Al-Madinah, because in the countryside, outside the city, knowledge is not as abundant, and ignorance leads to misguidance. And the Quran tells us that the Arab are the worst in their kufr and their nifaq, because they have no knowledge. So this is one interpretation. Another interpretation is that the munafiqun were in Al-Madinah. Their leader, Abdullah ibn Ubay, was set to become the leader of Al-Madinah before the arrival of the Prophet. So how can such people make hijrah when they are already in Al-Madinah? And so the way to understand hijrah here would be make hijrah from their nifaq and from their evil and from their kufr, because hijrah means to abandon. So they need to abandon their kufr. Another way a hijrah could be understood is to march out with the Prophet fighting in the way of Allah, because this is also leaving your homeland to march out for the fighting. Then he says, فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا, if they turn away, that is to say from embracing Iman and from making hijrah, in any of the interpretations we have given, فَخُذُوهُمْ, the fa as-sababiyah, meaning, so in that case, خُذُوهُمْ meaning seize them, grab hold of them, وَاقْتُلُوهُمْ, and execute them, حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُوهُمْ, wherever you find them. Now we just said that you're not allowed to kill the munafiqeen because outwardly they are displaying their Islam. But this killing refers to those of the munafiqeen who openly declare their enmity, not to those who inwardly and secretly harbor kufr, but openly are declaring themselves to be Muslims. They are not to be killed. And he says, do not take from amongst them awliya nor nasir. So in this context, awliya, meaning allies, would be those who help you in battle and capture land. The nasir would be the one who helps you defend off an attack from the enemies. So the wali is in the offensive context and the nasir is in the defensive context. Otherwise, they could be swapped one for the other. So reflecting on this ayah, the obvious lesson to take, to be on guard against the kuffar, they would want the Muslims to turn like them, because if the Muslims embrace kufr, any form of it, let's say Christianity, then the Christians will feel empowered. And if you turn to atheism, the atheists will feel empowered. And so this is how people feel empowered, when others embrace their way. But of course, Muslims have most right to feel empowered because they are on the correct path. And what follows from this is that we realize that Allah Jalla wa'ala is a well-wisher to us, because a well-wisher warns you of potential potholes and traps that you could encounter. That's what it means to be a well-wisher, to warn people of an impending or a likely danger, which in turn means that Allah Jalla wa Ala is worthy of thanks and praise. We also learn that it is permissible to take as prisoner and to execute those who declare war against Allah and His deen and openly declare their enmity. And it's all fair play because at the end of the day they are at war with the Muslimin. Ayah number 90. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ يَصِلُونَ إِلَى قَوْمٍ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُمْ مِيثَاقٌ أَوْ جَاءُوكُمْ حَصِرَتْ صُدُورُهُمْ أَنْ يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ أَوْ يُقَاتِلُوا قَوْمَهُمْ وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَسَلَّطَهُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ فَلَقَاتَلُوكُمْ فَإِنْ اعْتَزَلُوكُمْ فَلَمْ يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ وَأَلْقَوْا إِلَيْكُمْ السَّلَمَ فَمَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ عَلَيْهِمْ سَبِيلًا. So after giving us the permission to take prisoner and to kill such people who openly show their enmity, He's giving us some restrictions. So both of these ayat, 89 and 90, need to be read together so we can glean the full picture. He says, except those who yasiluna ila qawmin, they join a people. Who are these people? These are such people between you and them there is a mithaq, that is to say an agreement or a peace treaty. So in a case like this you are not to kill them, because if the people with whom you have a peace contract have given such people shelter, then you have to respect their protection. And this is all because of a peace treaty that you have. It must be upheld. So this is one exception. The second one, أَوْ جَاءُوكُمْ حَصِرَتْ صُدُورُهُمْ, that these people who have turned away from Iman and Hijrah and have openly declared their enmity, they actually come to you, O Muslimin. So this will be in the battlefield, but their chest is hasirat, meaning daqat, constricted. So that is to say, they do not have that fire in their belly to fight you. They do not actually want to fight you, they want to make peace with you. أَوْ يُقَاتِلُوا قَوْمَهُمْ, and neither do they want to fight their people, meaning to say their people from the Muslimin, because from the Muslimin there will be those who are related to them, cousins and nephews and brothers and so on. So these kuffar do not wish to sever ties of kinship with their relatives from the Muslimin, and so they do not want to fight the Muslimin. An example here from the seerah is the Prophet's uncle, Al-Abbas. He was present at the Battle of Badr fighting for the kuffar, but he was forced to come. He did not really want to come, and so the Prophet told his people, the companions, do not fight Al-Abbas. They took him in as prisoner, but they did not kill him. So in a case like this, Allah Jalla wa Ala is saying, do not fight them or take them as prisoner. This is where the exception is made. The exception is not made to taking the kuffar as awliya. You never take the kuffar as awliya, whether they are fighting you or not. But the exception here is made to the actual killing and taking them as prisoner. Then Allah Jalla wa Ala reminds us of a great ni'mah. He says, if Allah had so willed, He would have given them, meaning the kuffar, power over you. فَلَقَاتَلُوكُمْ, then they would have fought you. But as it so happens, Allah Jalla wa Ala struck fear into the hearts of the kuffar, so they would not have that fire in the belly to fight the Muslimin. So the hearts are in the hands of Allah Jalla wa Ala. And he goes on to say, فَإِنْ اعْتَزَلُوكُمْ, if they keep away from you. From i'tizal, meaning to keep aloof or keep away. وَأَلْقَوْا إِلَيْكُمُ السَّلَمَ, from alqa yulqi, to throw, ilaykum, to you, as-salam, peace or surrender, meaning to say if they surrender to you. فَمَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ عَلَيْهِمْ سَبِيلًا, then in that case Allah has not made for you against them, meaning those kuffar, a way, meaning to say He has not given you permission to kill them or to take them as prisoner. Okay, so reflecting on this ayah, we find the sensible and rational approach that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislates for us, in that He makes exceptions based on reasonable terms. with these two types of people that we are not allowed to fight. And we also appreciate how Islam upholds the contracts, even with kuffar. And we also find the immense compassion that the deen of Islam has, even against the enemy army, those people who do not really wish to fight us, we are not to fight them. And we also find that whoever gives us peace, then we give them peace as well. We also find that the enemy who lay down their arms are not to be killed. One might say here, but what if they're trying to do this to fool us? Then we say we need to examine the situation. If we think there is treachery at play, then we do not fall for their tricks, and we are allowed to kill them. This is of course in theory, however, every incident needs to be looked at separately on its own merits. هذا والله أعلم.